Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So how many people here have ever been a bit stubborn, rigid, or inflexible? Anybody ever? And how many people have ever had a hard time adjusting to some change, something that happened in your life that you didn't want or didn't really like? And how many people have ever wanted to create some positive change, who wanted to create a new habit, who wanted to achieve something new, but you couldn't break through and you fell back into the old way? Anybody ever have one of those? Kind of reminds me of this government worker. And he's cleaning out one of his drawers and he finds his lamp and he rubs it and a genie appears and grants him 3 wishes. He's so shocked by it, he doesn't know what to think. And so the first wish he asks is, I wish he had a Pepsi. So a Pepsi appears, he drinks it, he relaxes, and he puts some thought into his next request. And he said, I wish I was on an island with only beautiful women who adored me, who took care of me, and just wanted to do nothing but make me happy. And poof, he's on this island with these beautiful women. And then he said, for my last wish, what I would like is, I would not want to do any work ever again. And poof, he was back in his government office. My apologies if you work for the government. And so change, why is it so hard? I mean, why are new ideas or new habits or new goals so sometimes hard for it to catch and to take hold and get traction? You know, in the book of Luke chapter 5, verse 38 and 39, it has this parable, and it's a parable of a wineskin, and here's what it says. And no one puts new wine into an old wineskin, otherwise the new wine will burst the skins, and it will be spilled, and the skins will be destroyed. But new wine must be put in new wineskins. And no one, after drinking old wine, desires new wine, but says the old is good. And so this parable says clearly that new wine can only be placed in new wineskins which have the ability to expand, because when the fermentation goes on, carbon dioxide is made and it begins to stretch the skin. And so the wineskin needs to be flexible and expandable enough for that transformation to happen so wine can actually be made. And it can be delicious and it can have the time to mature. But if you put new wine in old wineskins that are already rigid and inflexible and already stretched, and the expansion happens, it will actually burst it, and it will waste and spill the wine, and it'll damage the wineskins and deprive us of the opportunity to enjoy the wine and that experience. So this message, this parable, is more than just the secrets to good winemaking. There's actually a deeper message for us. And what Jesus is really talking about is the mental challenge of change and transforming ourselves. You know, it is about how hard it is to bring new ideas into an old mindset, into an old belief system. That it is hard sometimes for an old belief system to expand, to introduce a new idea so that it actually sticks and creates transformation and the change that we are seeking and desiring. You know, Jesus knew that people's minds, our minds, are sometimes like old wineskins. They can be rigid. They can be inflexible, and change can be difficult. Transformation can be difficult for this reason. I'm sure you've all heard of that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or old habits die hard. And that is because he knew that sometimes change isn't easy for us. Sometimes we're stuck in our old ways, an old belief system, and our limited thinking. You know, notice the parable ends with this line, and no one after drinking old wine wants new wine, but says the old is good. And the old wine really represents, you know, something that's familiar, something that tastes good, something that's comfortable, that a certain pattern in our lives. that's kind of our comfort zone. It's something that we just prefer. And it's been around for a long time, so we kind of just feel comfortable in that, whatever that pattern might be. Even if it's something that's not healthy for us, like smoking, it can be something that, that we're just accustomed to, and it's hard to break out of it. Now, new wine, which clearly is, sharp and not as refined or smooth, can be like new ideas. They are a little awkward. They stretch us. They don't make us feel very comfortable. And sometimes they're kind of hard to enjoy or implement. I'm sure every one of us has probably had the goal of, going to the gym 3 times a week, and then you start out, but then after a while you go to the gym twice a week, and then over time you go to the gym once a week, and then over time you think about going to gym 3 times a week, and you think about it twice a week, and then you think about it once a week, and then you don't really think about it. I'm sure we've had that with diets as well, starting out with this new idea, but this old mindset sometimes pulls us back into an old pattern, and that change and transformation doesn't happen the way we would like it to. And we blame ourselves for not being disciplined or all kinds of things. The story of when the children of Israel were freed from bondage by Moses, and they came out of Egypt, and they were moving in through the desert, and they came to the Red Sea. And Pharaoh's men were coming to try and get them back. And the children of Israel then, they're stuck at the Red Sea. They can't go ahead. And then the Pharaoh's men were coming after them. And, they started complaining. They started to whine, the other kind. And, moaning about, we should have just stayed there as slaves. At least we would have had food. We should have stayed there instead of dying out here, being stuck. And so they're there with this new idea of freedom, this new desire for freedom, but they're kind of limited by their old slavery mentality. And so Moses has to strongly say to them, stand firm and see the deliverance God will give you. For the Egyptians you see today, you will not see tomorrow. That sometimes we all hit that wall by the Red Sea where we think it isn't going to get better. I may as well just go back, or we flip back into the old way. And that's where we have to stay strong and have a breakthrough in our consciousness to know that the struggle we're having in this moment, we won't have tomorrow. We just have to hold faith. And what happened is that the Red Sea parted, and they were able to move on from that past and that old pattern. The children of Israel wanted freedom, but they didn't fully have that consciousness of freedom. They still had a consciousness of bondage, limitation, and slavery. Sometimes people who win a lottery, they infuse with this new money, new abundance, but the old mindset of lack sometimes can't handle it. And, studies show that people a year later after a lottery don't have very much of that money left. Michael Beckwith once said, you can have anything you want, but first you must become it in consciousness. That you can have anything you want, but first you have to have the spiritual mindset and basis, the foundation of faith, a building of a clear belief that you can have it and it's possible, that you are worthy of it, and then it will be attracted. Then it will be able to lift and transform your life. If you want the new experience of success, that you need to have a consciousness of success. If you want a new experience of being a great leader, you need to have a consciousness of a great leader. There's a woman named Carol Dweck. She is a professor at Stanford University, and she says this: your mind is a powerful thing. The stories you tell yourself and the things you believe about yourself can either prevent change from happening, or have you not handled change well, or allow your new skills to blossom, and you can handle change and transformation, and good things will happen to you. She has done research and discovered that there are 2 kinds of mindsets: a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. That a fixed mindset believes that our abilities, that our skills, our talents are just fixed traits. That we get a certain amount of this or that, and that's all you get. That in certain areas that we can be successful, and that we go after those areas. But in the areas that we think we're failed, we don't even go there. Because we think that, to fail is, absolutely unacceptable. that we are so fixed in thinking that this is how it is, that we aren't willing to risk. We aren't willing to try. We aren't willing to face challenges, that we will literally avoid many of those experiences and difficulties because we have this fixed mindset. And then there's a growth mindset that believes that all the abilities and talents we have, we can develop and make them better. That we can cultivate them with hard work, with effort, and with persistence. And a mindset like that is much more comfortable with failure. It's more comfortable with challenges and resistance and making mistakes and having regrets, because it knows in all situations we can learn, we can expand, we can improve. You know, that failure isn't fatal, but it is an opportunity for us, and also a great teacher for us to expand and become better. And the growth mindset doesn't believe that everyone has the same, or everyone can be Einstein, but it believes that whoever you are and wherever you are, that we can become better, that we can improve, that every one of us can become more creative, more intelligent, more athletic, more artistic, more successful, because that growth mindset believes that is absolutely possible for ourselves. You know, so what would it take for us to develop new ideas and a new mindset? What will it take for us to allow change that we desire to actually take hold and allow ourselves to transform our lives? So we're going to look at this parable and the lessons that it has to teach us. You know, wine is made, and it's a product of a process called fermentation. And fermentation first begins with a decomposition of the sugar molecule. It breaks down the sugar molecule. So another one could be made. An alcohol molecule could be made. That there needs to be something breaking down to create something greater and something better. And I'm not saying alcohol is better than sugar. You know. But you know, Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, and if it's good enough for Jesus, then I'm going to use this example. But I'm not promoting drinking and alcohol. I want you to hear that. Because it's got a cool analogy and message in it for us. So if we want our lives to change and transform, this process of transformation and fermentation, it begins with decomposition. Something that isn't working needs to break down. And sometimes we get stuck in a mindset of unworthiness or lack, you know, a mindset of distrust or bitterness. And we're so fixed in that consciousness and hold on to it, we can't move on. The process of transformation can't move on when we're holding on to something that isn't healthy and isn't helpful. Will Rogers once said, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. And the fact is, you know, that we are often holding on to something that isn't healthy, something that isn't helpful, you know, and just like the wineskin, it's rigid. You know, and what happens is that there can't be that expansion, otherwise it will spill and waste the very opportunity that we have and the experiences that we have. So my question is, so what belief are you holding on to that's stopping you from moving forward? You know, where in your life are you stuck in some rigid, you know, mindset, you know, that is literally spilling the wine of life and fulfillment? And what belief is stopping you from enjoying the sweetness of this moment and the now? And what belief needs to decompose or break down or be dissolved so something better can be created in its place? I think it behooves us all to ask ourselves the question, where in my life am I experiencing or exhibiting a fixed mindset right now? You know, something else she says that's really interesting is that there's a real connection between what we believe and what we do. That what we believe affects what we do and don't do, what we try and don't try. And sometimes even in our wording, we limit ourselves and our experience. Sometimes things like, you know, it's hard for me to lose weight. I just can't lose weight. Or I'm not good with numbers. Or I'm not creative. I'm not a natural athlete. I'm a procrastinator. I stink at relationships. I can't remember names. We do these things and we affirm, you know, and put ourselves down and keep ourselves trapped there. And not only do we keep ourselves trapped with these negative messages, but we actually avoid doing things that'll make us feel bad because we're those ways. And so it's really, really important for us to sometimes even just slightly shift the wording that can reduce the negative impact that some of those comments have. Instead of saying it's hard for me to lose weight, say I really need to work on exercising regularly and having a healthier diet. Or I'm not good with numbers, it says that, I need support and I'll keep trying and improving, my, how I work with numbers. I mean, any of those things, procrastination, I'm working on becoming more punctual. I really like to become more punctual. I mean, so just using those things, I think, is a very vital and important shift. But there's no question the first part of that process is something needs to break down. And we need to release some of the limiting beliefs and ideas that we've been living under. And then the second one is to allow space for that transformation to happen. For that fermentation there, that needs to be an expansion of that wineskin, an expansion of our consciousness to stretch us beyond what we currently know and experience. And sometimes just having an intention to have a growth mindset, just having that intention, will begin to expand us in greater ways. Some of the aspects and qualities of a growth mindset include a mind that's curious, a mind that's willing to say, why not? What if? A mindset that is eager and committed to learn. A mindset that is friendly and not afraid of challenges. And is not afraid to fail or make mistakes or have obstacles happen. A mindset that is willing to explore possibilities. It's also a mindset that finds what it loves to do and expresses passion in what it does. It's also a mindset of tenacity because it knows it takes work, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in our job or for financial success. It takes work and effort to achieve greater things. Another thing about a growth mindset is it is inspired and loves to be inspired. That when we have that level of healthy mindset, a growth mindset, that literally there is nothing in life that we can't handle. There's no goal that we don't think is possible. There's no difficulty that we don't think we're going to learn or gain from. And literally, it changes our whole experience of ourselves and changes our experience of all the things that we experience in life. Whether change happens to us or we want to change something consciously ourselves, a growth mindset is a powerful thing. So I told you guys last week I went to see Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie about Queen and the song and Freddie Mercury. So I went to see it again this week because I'm really obsessed with it in a great and wonderful way. And one of the things I love is that they demonstrated a growth mindset. There were these four misfits. One was going to be a dentist, one was going to be an engineer, the other one a scientist, and the other one a fashion designer, and very flamboyant one. And they were all so different, but they supported each other in being great. They didn't always agree, but they created this synergistic thing that individually they had this growth mindset, and collectively they did amazing things. They didn't want to create formula hits. They wanted to create whatever came to them. And that's why in '75, Bohemian Rhapsody, a rock song with opera, and some made-up words was amazing. It got turned down, but eventually it became the greatest hit they ever had and considered one of the greatest songs. They wrote "We Will Rock You" because they wanted the crowd to stamp their feet and clap and to feel participation. They wrote another one, "Bites the Dust," because they wanted to get into the dance clubs and it was their version of disco. Crazy Little Thing Called Love was a tribute to Elvis. I mean, there were so many things. I Want to Break Free, they did this video where they're all dressed up in drag. It got banned on MTV, but they didn't care because they were expressing themselves and their uniqueness, and they didn't want to be in a box. And I credit much of it to their growth mindset. They had it for themselves individually, and they had it collectively. What was neat was when Freddie Mercury got signed to an individual contract, he said, "I hired all these people. They did everything I did. It was so boring." He said, "I love and miss you guys because you challenge me, you support me, we see things differently, and we create something amazing together." And why? because they had a growth mindset. Could you imagine if they had a fixed mindset, what a different experience we might have had and different songs might we have had? So my question, where in your life is there room for a growth mindset? Where in your life do you need to expand your consciousness to see yourself and life in a bigger and different way than you're allowing yourself to see it now? A part of the expanding our consciousness is that intention to have a growth mindset, but I think it's also to put your attention on a deeper place of where the expansion of your consciousness really happens. Eric Butterworth, the author of the book Discover the Power Within You, said that human beings get very excited about exploring outer space, but don't get quite as excited about exploring inner space. And this is the space and the place where the consciousness expands, where we open ourselves to inspiration and wisdom and peace and understanding and everything we could ever desire. The kingdom of God is within us. It is already within us. The way is within. And the question is, are we willing to take time to explore that inner space? You know, to open our inner eye, to expand our inner awareness, to expand our consciousness, because that's the thing that attracts, that creates, that transforms. And when it happens on the inside, it will reflect better on the outside. And the last thing about the process of this transformation is that there's some movement required. Fermentation and transformation, something's got to move. Einstein says nothing happens till something moves. Something's got to move. There is some action required. The first book after the Gospels is the book of, thanks for helping me out. It's the book of Acts. And it says faith without works is dead. So there's a certain action. Things need to move in life to be changed and transformed. Energy needs to move. And so one of the things, there's an author named James Clear, he said it isn't just action, but it's identity-based habits that are important, that they need to happen, because sometimes we have a hard time sticking with certain behaviors, new behaviors. But he said when they're grounded in our identity, that those habits will begin to change and transform us. Here's what he says. When you let the results define you, your talent, your test scores, your weight, your job, your performance, your appearance, then you become a victim of a fixed mindset. To change behaviors, we need to start believing new things about ourselves. That when we change our beliefs about ourselves, then support habits that support that belief, things begin to change. Here's how he says to do it. Think of the type of person you want to be. And then do some simple act that will support it. Let me give you some examples. So you could think of yourself as like you want to be someone that's strong, who can bench press 200 pounds. And he said, think of the type of person it would take for you to be that. And that would be the type of person who never misses a workout, who is that committed. And he said, if you commit yourself and believe that the type of person you want to be is one who never misses a workout, then you working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that will support your belief in who you are. And he said, that's more effective than just setting a goal of benching 200 pounds. Why? Because it's about who you identify yourself with and who you want to become. Instead of being someone who wants to lose 30 pounds, be the type of person who moves 10,000 steps every day and eats, 2 salads a day or whatever it is. We'll just make it up. Instead, if you want to be someone who's taken more seriously at work, be the type of person who will be more seriously taken at work by being on time for every meeting and being prepared for every meeting. That you will become known as the person who is always on time and always prepared. When you become that person, guess what? The other things that you want will begin to unfold. Does this make sense, everybody? The goal is going to happen, but concentrate on who and how you are. He writes this, it's your daily actions that will change your belief about yourself and the person that you become. And when you shift your beliefs about who you are, then your actions will begin to change. Because the fact is, everything going on in our life is a reflection of what we believe about ourselves. And if we change and transform what we believe about ourselves, then we will become something even greater and better. So my brother, when he was in high school, he took a creative writing course, and he got kicked out because he wasn't creative enough. 7 years ago, he read Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. One of the exercises, or the exercise, was to write 3 pages, morning pages, 3 pages. And my brother decided and it was about letting your creativity out. He decided he wanted to do that. And on Thursday, he celebrated his 7th year anniversary of writing 3 pages every single day. And I'll tell you, he's a really creative guy. He writes poetry. He's probably going to publish a book on poetry. But he defined himself differently. He decided, what type of person do I want to be? And out of it has come things he didn't expect, like poetry and a possible book. When people think about Kobe Bryant, they don't just think about a good basketball player and a guy who won championships. They think about a guy who had incredible work ethic. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Serena Williams, they're known for their work ethic. And out of their great commitment to being that type of person, guess what? Championships and things come. Anybody ever heard of Mary Barra? Neither did I. And so at 18 years old, she entered on the lowest level at GM. But she was committed to show up as a pro and to learn and to be her best every single day. Any opportunity, they did some educational thing that they'd pay for, she took it. Any opportunity to go and inspect and learn how to tell quality parts for cars, she took it. Over and over, she would show up early. She would be professional. She was always on the leading edge. After 33 years in the company, she became the first female CEO at GM. And why? She wasn't thinking about that at 18, because she was thinking about, how do I be my best? How do I show up as a professional? And out of that, being the type of person she wanted to be, that great things happened. So my question for you is, think about the type of person you want to be. Not the goals that you want to have, the kind of person you want to be. And think of a small act you can do every day, and doing it over time, I guarantee you, will change how you feel about you. And as you change how you feel about you, great things will happen. Greater things will happen. Change and transformation, because you would have shifted your consciousness. I learned something about lobsters. They have soft, delicious bodies when dipped in butter, but they have these really hard shells that are strong and very rigid that protects them. And as they begin to grow over time, the shell doesn't move, it's rigid. And so they outgrow it and becomes confining and restricting and very limiting and uncomfortable. So they actually have to shed their shell, and they go and hide to protect themselves from predator fish. And they actually expand a bit more. And then they regrow a new shell that's larger and bigger for them. Then they go live and enjoy their wonderful life. And then a number of years later, it happens again. The shell is too small and confining, and they need to expand out of it. They slip out of it, and they grow a new one. That happens 25 times in their life. It's a regular part. That they grow a new shell, it gets awkward, then they have to release it and grow a new one. And to me, that says that life is a constant expanding experience. That the mindset you have today will make you feel uncomfortable and be confining. At some point, you'll need to shed it and expand your consciousness. That life is a constant experience of evolving, of growing, of changing and expanding. And we need to move with it and not against it. To flow with it and not resist it. Simone de Beauvoir, a French author and philosopher, she said this: life is occupied in both perpetuating itself and in surpassing itself. If all it does is maintain itself, then living is only not dying. And living is more than just not dying. It isn't living if that's our definition. And the fact is, the way to live is to grow. The way to live is to expand. The way to live is allow ourselves to be challenged. The way to live is allow ourselves to be changed and transformed. The fact is, if you change your outlook, you will change your life. If you expand your consciousness, you will expand your joy. And if you develop a growth mindset, you will develop some great habits. Every one of us has the power to change, transform, and make our lives better. And that is the beautiful message of new wine, new wineskin. God bless you, everybody.